Now, it was realized that a physical description of the universe prior to the Planck time, that is 10 to the negative 43 second after the Big Bang singularity, would require the introduction of quantum physics in addition to general relativity. On the quantum level, so-called virtual particles are thought to arise due to fluctuations in the energy locked up in the vacuum. Particles, which the Heisenberg indeterminacy principle allows to exist for a fleeting moment before dissolving back into the vacuum. In 1973, Edward Tryon speculated whether the universe might not be a long-lived virtual particle whose total energy is zero, born out of the primordial vacuum. This seemingly bizarre speculation gave rise to a new generation of cosmogonic theories, which we may call vacuum fluctuation models. These models were closely related to an adjustment to the standard model known as inflation. In an attempt to explain or explain away, depending on one's viewpoint, the astonishing large-scale homogeneity and isotropy of the universe, certain theorists proposed that between 10 to the negative 35 and 10 to the negative 33 second after the Big Bang singularity, the universe underwent a phase of super rapid or inflationary expansion, which served to push the inhomogeneities out beyond our event horizon. Prior to the inflationary era, the universe was merely empty space, or a vacuum. And the material universe was born when the vacuum energy was converted into matter via a quantum mechanical phase transition. Now, in most inflationary models, as one extrapolates backward in time, beyond the Planck time, the universe continues to shrink down toward the initial singularity. But in vacuum fluctuation models, it is hypothesized that prior to inflation, the universe as a whole was not, in fact, expanding. Rather, the universe as a whole is a primordial vacuum which exists eternally in a steady state. And throughout this vacuum, subatomic fluctuations occur by means of which matter is created and many universes are born. Our expanding universe is just one of these many universes, an indefinite number of which are conceived in the womb of this greater mother universe as a whole. And thus the beginning of our universe does not represent an absolute beginning, but merely a change in the eternal, uncaused universe as a whole. Though still bandied about in the popular press, vacuum fluctuation models did not outlive the decade of the 1980s. Not only were there theoretical problems with the production mechanisms of matter, but these models faced a deep internal incoherence. According to such models, it is impossible to specify precisely when and where a fluctuation will occur in the primordial vacuum, which will then grow into a universe. Within any finite interval of time, there is a positive probability of such a fluctuation occurring at any point in space. Thus, given infinite past time, universes will be eventually spawned at every point in the primordial vacuum. And as they expand, they will begin to collide with one another and coalesce with one another. Thus, given infinite past time, we should now be observing an infinitely old universe, not a relatively young one. Isham, who is probably Britain's leading quantum cosmologist, has called this problem, and I quote, fairly lethal to vacuum fluctuation models, and says that therefore they did not find wide acceptance. About the only way to avert the problem would be to postulate an expansion of the primordial vacuum itself. But then we're right back to the absolute origin implied by the Standard Model. According to Isham, these models were therefore jettisoned 20 years ago, and he says nothing much has been done with them since.